Hello everyone, Jason from Truth Behind the Magic here once again. I've been very excited to make this video. With D23 going on, obviously that is pretty much the biggest event of the year when it comes to Disney news. So I pretty much knew that I would be making a video this week and trying to get it out sooner rather than later. And really the purpose of this is kinda to just give my reactions and thoughts for the event overall, as well as multiple of the specific things that were announced, especially pertaining to Disney World. I will talk about one or two things outside of World specifically, but since that's where I was a cast member and that's where I've spent my Disney time, that is pretty much what I'll be focusing on here. Yeah, I think leading up to this, there was a lot of excitement. I've watched D23 before. I think this was the first time I've watched the entire Parks and Experiences panel. Typically in the past, I've just either seen clips of it as it's going on, or watched a little bit at a time, or just watched whoever was posting about it. But this one had a different feeling to it. You could kind of feel with Epic Universe pretty much being on the cusp of being open, this felt like it had to be Disney's big response to Universal. And at the end of this video, that's probably when I'll give my thoughts on kind of the overall event itself and whether I think it was a good response or not to what Universal has been doing. But definitely leading up to it, there was a lot of excitement. Some of the things that people were expecting, some of it had been previously announced, but not necessarily fully put in motion. Some of it was completely out of left field. In the way I kind of have this lined up, I have my tabs open up here from the Disney Parks blog right behind the camera. And I pretty much have it listed from things that surprise me the least, or things that are just at the bottom of my importance meter, I guess, as far as what was announced. And then at the end, that's when I have the stuff that really surprised me the most, or stuff that I thought was the most needed. And I will say, overall, I think they outdid expectations. I think most people will say that. I feel like they finally did kind of, throw a bone to Disney fans. I feel like they've really been kicking the can down the road for years now, especially when it comes to D23, because typically the presentations are not like this, at least in recent history. They're very underwhelming. A lot of it's just blue sky ideas, and that going into this, I think a lot of people were thinking we're probably just going to get more nonsense about, we might do this, we don't know. But that's why when Josh D'Amaro came right out the gate and said all this has been put in motion, I think it kind of had a different feeling, although I don't know if we'll actually see all this happen with it being Disney. You never know, they might find an excuse not to do something. But yeah, so I'll kind of just get into some of the specific things that I wanted to talk about. Well, first of all, I'm going to just mention something non-Disney World just to kind of get it out of the way. But I think it was really awesome that they announced that they are building the first Walt Disney animatronic, and that he's going to be getting a show kind of like you're in his office, and he's just pretty much talking to you like a friend. I think that's well needed. I think it's probably good they waited till now, because I know they said they waited till the technology was at a level where they wanted to do it. It's probably good they didn't do it before now, because Walt Disney needs to be done right, and I'm really hoping they'll do that, and it will just be a straightforward Walt Disney show, how it should be. But the first thing I had on here was Test Track, because we've known for a while that they're doing this. I mean, it's already shut down at this point. I have no problem with that. I think it's a very fun ride, and I put the emphasis on ride because The ride system itself is very fun. I know some people say it hurts their back, and that is very fair criticism. But for me, I do think it's fun. Obviously, the ending part of it is probably one of the best experiences on all of Disney property. But I hated that it just felt like you were on a soundstage with a few props in it. I never got to ride it before they re-themed it the first time, but it looked like it was much better before. So they haven't released that much about the re-theme, but it looks like some really lush backgrounds and some real theming, not just some cardboard cutouts with luminescent lighting. And that's opening soon. I believe I know it's on this page somewhere, just 2025 is what they say, so that's coming very soon. And I won't spend too much time on that, because, I mean, it's Test Track. We know it's still going to be Test Track, but just better. Next up, I have the Indiana Jones and Encanto attraction/area, and I have this second because it also was something that had already been quasi-confirmed and now is officially confirmed. I actually found out just today, I don't know why I didn't realize this, but Dinosaur the Ride is getting demolished as well. For some reason, I thought they were going to keep that and just get rid of Dino Land, but that would make no sense. So, I understand why they're doing this. This should have been done long ago. Dino Land was probably the biggest blight on all of Disney property, honestly. So, it sounds very exciting. Indiana Jones getting an original ride, not just a copy. I'm sure a lot of people thought they were just going to take Dinosaur and make it into the Indiana Jones ride, but it's going to be completely original. In Encanto, I'm not the biggest fan of the movie. I definitely don't dislike it, but I think it's a fair choice to make a land after it's obviously super popular now. I think it'll fit well in Animal Kingdom, and hopefully the ride will live up to the expectations. So that's definitely, all of that is a positive, because Dino Land needed to go bad. It needed to go the way of the dinosaurs and meet a swift demise. Something else, though, I don't know how I didn't realize this. I don't know if this got announced at the expo, but they're putting a Zootopia Show in the area where Tough to Be a Bug is, and that's another one that I really don't have a problem with either. All that pretty much was at this point was just something to eat the crowds up, and I know Disney has some beloved shows, obviously Carousel of Progress. If they ever touch that, it'll be a sad day. Moments with Mr. Lincoln, I know that's a classic, even though we don't have it out on the East Coast. Hall of Presidents, American Adventure, those are all like beloved shows with animatronics. Tough to Be a Bug, really, I don't think has ever reached that level. Not terrible. I mean, it was definitely enjoyable, but I think it's good that they're freshening that up. And the next one I have on here, I would say not necessarily was like a massive shocker, but something that out of all these might honestly be the best thing that I think was announced, or the most needed thing that was announced. The new nighttime parade coming to Magic Kingdom next year. The nighttime parade should have never gone away. I mean, I'm sure we can all theorize why it went away. It was probably money. But I just think that it took too long to get this back, but I'm glad to finally see something getting put at the, for as nighttime entertainment in Magic Kingdom. And it looks good from all the renderings and everything. I'm looking on the Disney Parks blog right now. It's going to be very interesting to see the new technology, because there's so much of it now that they could use for this. The new technology, new characters, that sort of thing. I think it's going to be very good. At least I certainly hope so. I was very happy to see that, because even if I don't watch the parades, it means that when that nighttime parade starts, you can go over to whatever busy attraction you want to go to and get on it in significantly shorter. So they're at least good for that. And at number 3, some people are probably going to be like, why do you have this at number 3? And it's basically an arbitrary numbering system. Like I said, it was pretty much just shock value to me, but as far as how I was ranking them. But number 3, the Villains Land at Magic Kingdom finally being confirmed. A lot of people thought they weren't actually going to do this, and they thought that for good reason, because they have canceled so many things in recent years. But I think it looks good. I mean, from the renderings, it really looks like a Universal Land to me. Probably the closest thing would be Galaxy's Edge, I would think, as to what this is going to be like. And I know some people will be like, it's easy to say that because that's the newest land and everything, but I just mean, from the renderings themselves, it just looks like it's kind of in that same vein of background. Obviously a very different concept and subject matter, but I think that's what they're going for here. Although I hope it's better than Galaxy's Edge, because I like Galaxy's Edge. I love Doc-on-Dars and some of the other stuff in there, but I think it was kind of a, not necessarily a swing and a miss, but maybe they made it to first base. Like, definitely not a home run. So I'm hoping this is really on par with, like, Diagon Alley. I know that's a long shot, but I think they have potential. Everyone loves the Disney villains. I mean, this is like something straight out of Fantasmic. I think it definitely has a place in Magic Kingdom. Some people might be like the doom and gloom people saying, this is a kid's park, we don't need villains in here. But I think there's definitely a place for it. It's like that, like the whole purpose of Fantasmic, you know, the imagination. If it goes the wrong way, then things go wrong. Villains appear, they have their say. And I think there's definitely an area in Magic Kingdom that I think it could definitely use this. So I'm very excited for that. And I believe it said it's going to have 2 new rides, so there's definitely a lot to offer there. Moving on to the next, and this was probably my favorite, while at the same time being the most controversial when I found out what I found out today information-wise, which it's been a couple days since the panel right now, but the Cars Land in Magic Kingdom, and I think nobody was expecting this. Absolutely nobody. When Mater did the Zoom call or whatever, I was like, why is there a Cars section of this expo right now? But then it was all explained. I love Cars, and I'm very glad that Disney will be furthering its legacy, giving it a place in the parks. I know it already has some footprint, especially in other parks around the world, but giving it a big footprint here. And, you know, I take it personally because, I mean, it is like a part of my heritage. I'm from North Carolina, which is pretty much the NASCAR state. I'm not a big NASCAR watcher, but Cars was pretty much like a southern franchise. Like, even though the movie doesn't take place in the South, Cars 3 definitely has some stuff in the South, but I think it really is in the vein of the South and just the Carolina culture and everything, so I'm really glad to see that getting a place in the parks for years to come. But the controversy comes with how they are implementing this, because it's just obviously questionable. When I saw the panel and he said, you know, it's going in Frontierland because we're trying to bring it into the modern age or whatever, my first thought is like, it's Frontierland. It's the 1800s. You don't need to bring it into the modern age. Let's just make everything Tomorrowland. Let's build the contemporary in every land, and just we can walk through it. We can ride the monorail through it. We'll bring it all into the modern era. But my second thought was, where is this going in Frontierland? And unfortunately, they announced that today, that it is replacing Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America. And I'm not big on Tom Sawyer Island, but I know it was, I mean, I don't know if it was opening day, but very early. It is a classic area. I know it's pretty much part-time now. It's not always open. It's seasonal, kind of. And I know it wasn't very popular, so that one makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense is getting rid of the Liberty Square riverboat for this. First of all, that's not Frontierland. I know it. It sort of is, but it's literally called the Liberty Square riverboat, and I know they have to get rid of it to get rid of the rivers of America, but I mean, it's an authentic replica of a steamboat, 1800 steamship, and it also was either opening day or very early, very shortly after opening day. People do still ride it. I know it won't be nearly as popular as these rides will be. I don't know what that voice crack was. I apologize. But I just don't get it. It's just further getting rid of things that are, I mean, not necessarily beloved. I'm sure that does have people that love it, but it's pretty much just a trademark of Magic Kingdom, and I feel like there are things that, no matter how decrepit or unlikable they get, which it was by no means unlikable, people still loved it, but there are certain things that should not be taken out of Magic Kingdom. And like I said, while I'm very happy to see a couple Cars rides get put in Magic Kingdom in a Cars area, I think it's so odd to consider it part of Frontierland, and getting rid of classic areas is just kind of, I don't know. I do think I'll still overall be happy with this change, because like I said, I didn't go to Tom Sawyer Island. I really never read I cannot speak today. I never rode the riverboat, really. I have a couple times, but it wasn't a typical thing I would do. But it just irks me, because it's like, what's next? What is going next to get replaced with Finding Nemo or who knows what else? Because I think that was another thing. I thought they were done with Cars. Like, I thought they were moving away from that, because people either love it or absolutely despise it. Maybe they're making a new movie. That's really the only thing I could think of. But I mean, it is a beloved franchise by many, so it'll be interesting to see how that comes out. If the rides are good, then it'll be golden. And really the biggest shock was what I saved for last here, and was the Monsters Inc. Monstropolis, or just Monsters Inc. Land, whatever they're going to call it, in Hollywood Studios. And that was another one. When Billy Crystal walked out on stage, it was like, why is he here? We haven't heard anything from this franchise in years. And I think the reason I have it at number one, as far as being the biggest shock, is not even necessarily because of that, but because where it's going in Hollywood Studios, if you look at really per capita what has been funneled the biggest amount of money in recent years, Hollywood Studios has to be the top of that list. Even when you consider the Epcot overhaul. Yeah, they really overhauled it, didn't they? It's a different park. Oh boy. That's kind of a digression. I would have to start a whole conversation about how I feel about the Epcot overhaul. But Hollywood Studios, Toy Story Land is pretty new. Galaxy's Edge is extremely new. Other various things have been updated in there. So I think that was the last place people were seeing a big expansion, big amount of money getting dumped into. But I think this has a lot of promise. I love the franchise. I think it really will lend itself well to being put in a physical theme park format. The ride obviously looks like it's going to be incredible, just because the subject matter alone, being on the doors and going on a coaster like that. But once again, this does not come without controversy, because everyone, the first thought they had was, where is this going? Most people's first thought was Muppet Courtyard, or the entire Muppet area altogether. And that still could very well be an option, because I don't believe, I looked around, I don't think they've announced where this is going yet. And if that's the case, I'm completely against it. I don't care what franchise it is. They've already ostracized and hurt the Muppets so much in recent times that, I mean, if they do anything else, it's pretty much going to be the death knell on the Muppets. I'm sorry, and I am a massive Muppets fan. I think Muppet Mayhem was like a big boost for the Muppets. That was a great show, the best Muppets thing they've put out in decades. It was just great all around. Actually funny. I mean, I feel like a lot of the stuff that they've put out about them lately is not funny. It was legitimately funny. The music was good. It was just in the original spirit of the Muppets. So if they get rid of Muppet Vision 3D, which is like one of the only absolutely amazing Muppet things left, then I just think it might be the end of the Muppets. And once again, I know that show is probably not insanely popular anymore. I've seen that theater get pretty full, though, I will say. But it's a beloved show. I think it's definitely on a tier above It's Tough to Be a Bug. You would have pretty big uproar if you got rid of that. Not as big as, like, Carousel of Progress, but not that far behind. The secondary theory is that they are going to be doing Animation Courtyard and Launch Bay, which I guess it's possible, but it just doesn't seem like a big enough area for it. Now, as someone who worked in Hollywood studios, I have seen some things that I won't speak about behind the scenes, but I'll just say it is bigger back in there than people think. You can tell that just from Google Maps. It's not like I'm giving away company info there, but it is a bigger area than it looks, so I think it is possible. And I think that would be the prime location for it, because you could attach it. You could effectively attach it to Toy Story Land if you put it there, which I think, continuity-wise, it definitely should be connected to Toy Story Land in one way or another. I think that definitely makes the most sense. If you put it in the Muppet Courtyard, it really can't be connected. You either have to go through Galaxy's Edge or take the other way around. There's really no way to cut through there unless they previously opened parts of the Streets of America, or whatever they called it when it was the studio tour portion of it. You pretty much have to open it back up to the public. But yeah, I am very concerned about where this is going to go, and I'm just hoping it's not Muppet Vision 3D in the Muppet Courtyard. I also think they might be considering getting rid of a couple of the buildings that used to be part of the onstage area, but you can see on Google Maps, or in the background now, there's the animation building and the feature animation building. The animation building might actually be used for parts of Launch Bay. I would have to look at Google Maps again. Honestly, I'm kind of blanking on that. But the feature animation building, there's history there. I mean, it's called the feature animation building for a reason. That was the hub of the filmmaking that took place, the real Disney filmmaking that took place at Hollywood Studios. And they animated multiple top-level movies at Hollywood Studios. I don't think a lot of people know that, but they did actually make movies there. Lilo and Stitch, Mulan, Brother Bear, at least portions of them were created there. So I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world if they got rid of those, but I wouldn't really want to see it. I would just say leave it be. And leave the legacy of those buildings. But once again, I'll be very excited to see this. Unless it replaces the Muppets, then I will be going with a very different attitude, but we'll still probably enjoy it. Because these rides do look very good. But I guess kind of to conclude here, just kind of overall, I won't necessarily say I was blown away, because there's only one thing they could do that would blow me away, and I'll mention that in a second, but it was definitely well above what anyone was thinking. I think most Disney fans would have been happy just getting the Villains Land officially announced and a few other things, nighttime parade. No one was expecting. I think it went on for nearly 3 hours. It was supposed to be an hour and a half. So people were not expecting it to be nearly this much material, and I definitely think it bodes well for the future. I think changes do need to be made, and this is at least a good start to that, because Epic Universe, if you see what is coming out about that, it is looking like it might be the greatest theme park ever, and I really do not say that lightly, because Epcot, I still think the World Showcase is the best land of any theme park. If you consider it all one land, I still think it is the most amazing place, you know, pound for pound, because the dining, a few decent attractions, the ambiance, and then, you know, you have Islands of Adventure, which arguably has the best rides of any theme park, pound for pound, Velocicoaster, Hagrid's Forbidden Journey. So to say a park looks like it might be the best park of all time is definitely, it's saying something. It should not be taken lightly, and I do really think if it ends up being as good as the concepts look, it is going to be the best park. I was very skeptical about the Wizarding Paris when I first heard about that. I was like, I don't know if they should take it to a different country other than, you know, where we're familiar with in the movies. Of course, it is in Fantastic Beasts, not to say it's not in the movies, but when they tied it in with the Ministry of Magic, and when I saw the concepts with the different shows and things, like, it looks very impressive. It looks Diagon Alley level impressive. The classic monsters area just looks like it's going to be a horror fan's dream. And even as me, I do like horror movies, but I pretty much only watch them around Halloween because I like that feeling of it. Even as someone like me, I think it looks like it's going to be top notch. That dark ride looks like it's going to be phenomenal. And even, you know, Nintendo Land, which we're already familiar with, looks great quality. And the How to Train Your Dragon, I even think that looks amazing. And I don't even like those. Not that I don't like those movies. I just don't really. I have never really followed the franchise. But yeah, Disney. Like I said, I think they blew away most people's expectations. I was definitely very surprised. But the only thing that could actually blow me away is a 5th part getting announced at Disney World. And I know some people are going to be laughing at me and just thinking it's utter stupidity to even think that. But is it really? I mean, Universal has been making great strides for the past 10, 15 years, putting out attractions that some people would claim put Disney to shame. I think Guardians of the Galaxy was a good... I wouldn't call it a response, because I'm sorry, it's not enough to respond to what Universal has been doing for the past decade. But I think it at least showed we can still make something that good, but just overall, Universal has really been hitting it out of the park with their attraction quality as of late. And like I said, they're building a 3rd park, which is no small feat. And yes, they are miles behind Disney when it comes to how much property they own, how many resorts they have, how much stuff they have to work with. Like I said already, the area they have is not nearly as much as Disney. But you're building a 3rd park. I mean, you have all those constrictions, and you're still to the point where you're going to be only one step behind Disney when it comes to park count, and you're like 1/10 the size or whatever. That, I'm sure that's not accurate. It's probably much smaller than that, actually, when it comes to land mass. You're much smaller. And you're opening up a new park, and I do think, this is my theory on all this, or at least how I feel about it, and this will be controversial. I should have done my controversy disclaimer at the beginning of the video, but people have been wondering for years how Disney is going to respond to, and I'm going back like a decade here, how they're going to respond to Diagon Alley, later on, you know, Hagrid's, that sort of thing. Even the original, just Harry Potter, the Hogwarts area, Hogsmeade and Hogwarts at Islands of Adventure, people said, how is Disney going to respond to this? And it felt like every year, for years, literal years, people said the same thing. How and when is Disney going to respond to this? Because we've never seen anything like this. Toy Story Land came out, didn't feel like a response. Various other things happened that weren't really major. Galaxy's Edge, everyone said this is it. This is the response. I would say I'm equally a Star Wars fan as Harry Potter fan, if not more, probably more of a Star Wars fan. And I do not think Galaxy's Edge touches Diagon Alley. I do not think Disney has ever actually responded to the strides that Universal made, especially after Hagrid's came out, and even add Velocicoaster to that. I know it's just a outdoor coaster that's not really themed, but it was unlike any coaster I've ever been on, I can say that. So yeah, I think a lot of people said Galaxy's Edge, this is it. They are finally responding. But it really, to me, they have never measured up. They've never truly responded, and this whole flurry of stuff that's coming out right now feels like they're finally responding to Diagon Alley and the strides that Universal has made. It does not feel like they're responding to a new park, which is what they're trying to do. The only way, and I will repeat this again and again, people can think what they want about it, the only way Disney can respond to Epic Universe is to build a 5th theme park. I will not hear any other arguments to the contrary. Yes, Disney rakes in more money than Universal. I'm sure they get a much higher visitor count per year. But you cannot respond to the innovation of a whole new park by announcing some lands. And I mean, I think they look amazing, but it's not the same. And people have not thought it was the same ever since Diagon Alley. Like I said, Toy Story Land, not an adequate response. I don't think it was supposed to be a response, but Galaxy's Edge certainly was not adequate. So yeah, I think, and I know people will probably say Disney doesn't need to respond, and I mean, you're right, to an extent, they really don't. Like I said, they'll keep raking in money. I'm sure they'll keep having massive visitor counts, although we've seen a decline in that recently for the first time in years, many years. I think the game has changed, and they're gonna have to announce a 5th park sooner rather than later. And I wouldn't even say it's a rumor, it's just, I would say the flat truth, that the reason they won't do it is because staffing. They already have the college program, which they keep upping, supposedly keep upping the number of participants in, and it still feels like that they, I wouldn't necessarily say struggle to staff the parks the way they are now, but it's not the best. So adding a 5th park to that seems like too much of a burden, and that may be the case, but you can't kick the can down the road forever. Something will have to be done about this eventually in one way or another, and like I said, there will be a 5th park eventually, and I would rather it be within 10 years than within 30 years. I honestly would not be surprised if Universal somehow built a 4th park before we see a 5th park down here at this point. Because we have all these new expansions coming, 7 new cruise ships, whatever else. And it's just, it seems like building a park is far out of their minds, except for the only hope being the recent Disney World development agreement, which I talked about recently, that was a 15-year plan, which did have it had the stuff in it to set up the requirements for a 5th park legally, getting that set up and squared away. So I think it is possible, and I do think maybe they're just biding their time to see how Epic Universe is, but I do think they'll have to announce a 5th theme park within the next few years after Epic Universe opens, or it's going to feel like there's no momentum, because it's like squeezing grapes at this point. They are squeezing every ounce they can out of every park, putting stuff on every square foot. And it's like, why don't you just build a 5th park instead of doing all this in all these parks that are already beloved by everyone else? But I know I've already talked too long about that, but that's just kind of my thoughts on everything overall. And I will just kind of reiterate again, I thought it was a great presentation. I thought it was a great panel. Definitely the best I've seen. Way more energy, a way better feeling. People were expecting to see a lot of stuff, and they did. It's just, we'll always have that question in the back of our minds. When is that 5th park coming? When are you going to truly respond to everything they've done in the past 10 years? So I do applaud them. I think they're moving in the right direction with it. It almost seems like leadership has a different, more positive feeling these days than kind of how they've treated parks in recent years, which is a very good sign for the big park lovers like me. So hopefully it'll just keep improving. I mean, I don't expect next year's to be this big because, like I said, they're squeezing everything they can out of everywhere. Unless they announce a 5th park, that's really the only way to top this, but hopefully we will see that soon. And speaking of that, I will see you next time. And I kind of ended that preemptively, but sorry it's been so long. I appreciate you if you made it to this part of the video especially. I got a new tripod, got some new lighting, which looks much better. I'm still tweaking that a little bit, but it's going good. I'm gonna get a new camera soon. I wanted to get this video out before it was too late, though, before I get that new camera, so I'm still on the GoPro here, but things are on the up and up. I'm working on some videos that are different than my normal fare. I'm really researching, making spreadsheets, that kind of thing, so I've got some big stuff coming up. I'm trying to improve the quality of these, adding graphics, that sort of thing. So I hope you'll stick around, and I'll see you next time.